Today I'm going to be talking with you about how to create a sensory garden. So let's get started. Now imagine a garden that inspires the senses with sweet scents of herbs and flowers, sometimes so strong you can pick them up when a soft breeze flows through your garden. Add in a beautiful array of soft or vibrant colours that light you up inside when you look at them, and plants which are soft to touch or which have interesting textures. Run them through your fingers and get to know their unusual shapes. Listen to the leaves rustling, to bees buzzing happily, and to the heartwarming sound of the birds that visit your little green haven. Savour the flavours of delicious homegrown herbs, veggies and fruits which dance on your palate and help you imagine delicious dishes that you would want to make with them. Now, sensory gardens are the perfect choice for anyone who wants a beautiful space for quiet contemplation and meditation, or who desires an engaging garden which offers opportunity for exploration and are particularly interesting for inquisitive young minds. These gardens appeal to all five senses, and they are well known for having a positive effect on our mental health and our sense of well-being. They prompt us to interact with plants, to get up close and personal with their most endearing features, for mindful consideration of how they look, feel, smell, sound, and taste, perfect for bringing us into the present moment, where things are calm and peaceful, and all that exists is you and the plants. They have huge therapeutic value for individuals with all different needs and are often created to provide healing. For people who experience loss of one or more of their senses, they can offer the opportunity to interact with plants that stimulate their remaining senses, and this can help invigorate their underperforming senses. Now, this provides a special experience which can have long-term positive effects on their health and well-being. A well-designed sensory garden also provides an accessible space for individuals with physical difficulties, inspiring the desire to spend more time outside, enjoying the different sensory elements. There is a long list of additional health benefits associated with sensory gardens, including helping us to keep physically fit, spending more time outside, breathing fresh air, and keeping spirits high with this mood-boosting environment. Engaging with the elements within the garden can effectively develop cognitive and motor skills, which is particularly good for growing children and individuals with a condition or who may be in recovery. And of course, our connection with nature is deepened every time we put our hands in the earth. And nature connection is the key to improved well-being for all ages. Now, I can't think of anywhere I'd rather be than a garden which is tuned into my senses. For me, the joy of spending time in a garden revolves around not only having something beautiful to look at, but a full sensory experience. Now, there is plenty of evidence which suggests that sensory gardens provide an excellent environment for learning. Sensory gardens are peaceful places with lots of interactive elements for children to explore, whether at school or in their own home garden. They are colourful, magical places which form beautiful memories and inspire creativity and inspiration. Many children spend a shocking amount of time indoors. During their school day, they will have about an hour to play outdoors, often in uninspiring, ungreen environments, and they may not have the opportunity to explore outdoors when they go home. So, incorporating a sensory garden at school or home provides a wonderful space for them to grow, to keep fit and to stay happy, and to learn the important life skills such as patience, kindness, sharing and persistence. Now, these gardens may include sensory and edible planting, musical elements such as wind chimes, interactive activities, living willow structures, wood carvings and interesting sculptures. Now, all of these features stimulate the senses and create a charming garden to interact with and learn from. So let's think about what we would put in our sensory garden. Let's first think about sight. Now, when choosing plants, choose the colours that make your heart sing. A palette of beautiful greens, which will be abundant throughout your garden, will have a delightfully calming effect on you for that enhanced sense of well-being that we are all searching for. Choose light blues to inspire peace and serenity, cheerful yellows to brighten your mood, and reds and oranges for warmth and vitality to energize you even on the grey days. Purple shades possess the greatest qualities of reds and blues, providing both energy and serenity in perfect balance. Choose plants of different shapes and sizes to provide interest and to spark your inquisitive nature. Choose some that spread across the ground like a soft leafy carpet, and others with long stems that wave cheerfully in the wind, and leafy or fir trees that dance beautifully as the breeze moves through them. Incorporate water into your garden so that you can enjoy watching the delicate ripples on the surface, admiring the different patterns emerging in every moment. Now this sounds like a garden that I could sit and watch all day. So now let's explore sound. Choose plants which create interesting sounds as they are which create interesting sounds as they are ruffled by the wind. Bamboos are a wonderful choice as they create the softest, most relaxing sound when their leaves are rustling. Grasses also have a magnificent sound when moved by the breeze. Miscanthus and fountain grass are fantastic choices. Now these grasses are so soft as well. They feel amazing when you run your fingers through them. Also include features in your garden which will invite birds to feed and breed, such as feeders and birdhouses. Now spend time listening to the birds which visit your garden, and you will be overwhelmed by the beauty of your different songs. Now let's have a look at smell. Now, filling your garden with sweet fragrances is such a joy, so I recommend choosing varieties which will enlighten your sense of smell. One of my favourite scented plant species has to be lavender. Ranging from deep purple to lilac or white, their fragrance is intoxicating. Run the feathery leaves through your fingers to wake up this scent and bring it indoors to fill your home with its sweet aroma. Now, sweet peas are beautifully perfumed and such a pretty choice for your garden, offering fragrant blooms throughout the summer, which also look wonderful in a vase inside. Another favourite of mine is star jasmine. Now, this climbing plant has a rich green foliage and delicate creamy white flowers, which give off heady scents, which are carried gracefully on the summer air. Any sensory garden would not be complete without a wonderful selection of herbs. Now these marvellous little plants have the most divine fragrances. Choose thyme, mint, oregano and rosemary to get started, and enjoy rubbing the leaves between your fingers to release their powerful essential oils. Let's have a look at tastes now. No matter what size or shape your garden is, or whether it is paved or grass with borders, everyone can incorporate an area or a couple of pots for homegrown veggies, fruit or herbs. Now it brings so much happiness to taste crops that you have patiently grown, to embrace the intense flavours of freshly picked produce. Imagine wandering around your garden, picking and eating a strawberry, then some rocket, then sugar snap peas, then nibbling on some delicious mint leaves, enjoying the flavours one after the other. Eating what we have grown is so satisfying, and the flavours are far more magnificent than anything you will buy in the shops. So give it a go, even if you start with just one pot for joyful tastings. Now let's have a look at touch. Now the plants kingdom is full of species with interesting textures. I love the silky, soft leaves of the stachys, which is also known as lamb's ear, and also of silver sage. They have beautiful downy leaves, which are really lovely to touch. Choose the feathery foliage of ferns and observe how they are tightly curled up before they unwind, revealing their riveted leaves. Soft grasses also feel wonderful when you run their soft tips through your fingers. Penstemon Little Bunny is a joyful, playful variety with the softest tufty tails at the end of its long stems. Enlighten and engage your senses with these ideas for your garden and create a beautiful, serene space where you can find peace, explore, and awaken the inquisitive nature within. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening to my talk on sensory gardens. I welcome any questions you might have about sensory gardens or any other design-based questions, and also to share any ideas you have for your own projects would be really, really lovely. So yeah, thank you very much.
Excellent, thanks, Sarah. You feel free to throw questions in the chat, or if you would prefer, you can turn your microphones off and ask Sarah in person. because there was a lot of different plants mentioned there. So some of you might like her to run through some of those again if you didn't quite catch the names of them all. I'm going through all the senses. Yes, I think we've all realised how important nature has become during this pandemic. We've all enjoyed being outdoors much more and exploring places and having a different connection to the outdoors, feeling, you know, being able to slow down and just take things in a bit more. I know that was really interesting. And it's nice because some of the plants you mentioned, you can see, for those of you, Hartow Hamlets based, if you go to the art park in Mile End Park, so if you know Mile End Park well, it's broken up into different sections, and the art park section near the art pavilion, which is kind of Clinton Roadway off Grove Road, lots of those plants you mentioned are in there because they're, you know, they represent all those different senses you were talking about, you know, they're architecturally interesting and nice to touch and smell. So they've got lots of the lamb's ear and lavender and some of those grasses you spoke about. Anyway, there is a question that's come in from Alex. Do you think the space should be divided up equally, or can you just do 2 senses, for example?
Yeah, so really you can just let your imagination run wild with your space. You can incorporate all of the senses, or maybe there's just 1 or 2 you want to play with. Perhaps if you are much more driven by visuals or by sense, then perhaps, you know, by smell, then perhaps you want to have a larger area for that so you can really embrace those senses. I mean, having a whole area of like beautiful scented herbs and things is certainly a wonderful element to incorporate into your garden, and really great for your well-being as well.
Lovely, thank you. There is another question that's come in specifically around trees and shrubs. So small trees or shrubs, winter interest ideas.
There's a tree which I've been thinking a lot about recently, and I really wish I had space to put one in. And it's a an autumn flowering cherry, an autumn blossoming cherry. I am not sure of the botanical name for it, but if you look up autumn or winter blossoming cherry, they are completely beautiful. And of course we have blossoms usually in the springtime on our cherry trees, on our apple trees, our almond trees, all of these wonderful blossoms that we can enjoy the scent, and they look incredible, covered in bees. And this tree is just a real joy to have in your garden, just flowering away, pink or white blossoms, at a time when everything else is kind of sleepy and dormant and hibernating. And you know, I think seeing flowers at this time of the year really just brings a lot of joy. We all need a little bit of colour in our lives at this time of year, don't we?
Yes. Now there's a shrub, there's a winter shrub that we've planted in different gardens that we've helped build. For example, with East End Homes, it's an Australian shrub, and it's called beautyberry. And in the winter time, it has these clusters of small, bright purple berries. And so yeah, do look that up, beautyberry. I won't even attempt to say the Latin.
I can help a little. It's a Calicarpa. Yeah, Ken, I totally agree. They have the most incredibly, the colour of the berries is unreal. Like you don't see it in any other plant, and it's really stands out in your garden. It's a very beautiful feature.
Yeah, and I mean other nice winter things, mainly down to the bark really, things like dogwoods. You can get various dogwoods with, you know, different coloured bark, which are often quite nice, and lots of people like Japanese maples as well. For the winter. But yeah, there is, I mean, just a Google search and you'll often get loads of kind of winter interest ornamental trees and stuff like that. The world is your oyster, really.
Yeah,
I think.
For another really stunning winter flowering shrub, I would recommend a daphne as well. The flowers on the daphne are absolutely, the scent is divine. It's really strong, really beautiful, and it just fills the air. So that's a really great one as well to carry you through the winter.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And no, that's smashing. Are there any other questions? There is a few more that are coming in. Hold on, going back to the beginning. Someone thought you might have mentioned lemon balm because it has a wonderful sweet smell.
Yeah, I absolutely adore lemon balm. It's so beautiful, and the scent is wonderful, and it's very, very versatile as a herb. I think I spoke about lemon balm in my last talk actually, and you know, you can cook it with fish or chicken or vegetables, or you can use it in cakes and desserts and have it in your tea. It's really wonderful, and there have been studies into lemon balm. Sorry, were we talking about lemon balm or lemon verbena?
Lemon balm.
Lemon balm. All right. I was gonna well, the same with lemon balm, but I was just gonna say with lemon verbena, there's studies that the scent is has been used with people with mental health problems, and it's been shown to have a really, really positive effect on well-being. So that's another really, really great one to have in your garden. And lemon balm is just gorgeous, like perfect in tea. Very, very calming effect lemon balm has, so really good to have it late in the evening when you're preparing for bed.
Yeah, and just
One.
watch it in your garden, because it will run rampant given half
It
a
will.
chance. I got rid of my patch of lemon balm. I got fed up with it, and I was like, oh, for goodness sake, there's so much of this stuff. And it just goes crazy. But yeah, it's very lovely. It's
Yeah,
always a favourite on the foraging tours I do. People really, really, really like it. They're always surprised that there's a plant in Britain that smells like lemons. You know, it's just,
yeah,
people always,
beautiful.
and they're like, oh, could we use it as an alternative to lemongrass in like Thai cuisine? I'm like, I'm sure you can. I don't, you'd have to put it in at the end though. You couldn't put it in the beginning like the lemongrass stick, you know, and
Yeah.
stick it in.
Lemon verbena is another good one for that,
Right.
as a replacement for lemongrass in
Oh, that's nice.
Thai cooking.
Good.
Really lovely. And yeah, as just to sort of reiterate what Ken said, if you're putting it in your garden, I really recommend as well. Just like the same as with mint, spreads like wildfire. It's got the same habit. So pop it in a nice big pot and it will keep on giving. So
That's it. And then Sally's asked, I'm always cautious about wind chimes because of deterring birds. Is this a factor?
I have heard something similar in the past, but I haven't personally tried it. You know, there is a recommendation, of course, that in a sensory garden, a wind chime is a really, really fantastic thing to have. But yeah, perhaps it could have an effect on the bird life in your garden, particularly if you are trying to invite a lot of birds into your garden. If you have you know, a good sized population coming in already, then maybe think about it. At least, in the very least, I would say not to have your wind chimes by your bird feeders. Perhaps have it in a different part of your garden.
Yeah, that would make sense. And birds soon realise that things aren't always to be fearful. They might be a little bit flighty to begin with, but yeah, it's a good idea to, you know, like you said, keep it away from the bird feeder. And then Lei Peng's asked, what about the different conditions that the plants, shrubs and trees need? How can you make it work in a small town garden?
So for every plant, there is the right place to plant it. So every single plant, they have a different requirement for how much sun they need, if they need full sun or partial sun or full shade. And they have different water requirements. Some will be wanting more moist soil, some will be very drought tolerant. So in your garden, what I would do is I would really, and size is really not a factor when you're thinking about creating a space and creating, if you want, a sensory garden. So I would spend some time really observing your garden. Have a look at how much sun comes into your garden during the day, and you know, is it that you have more sun in different parts of the garden? I mean, basically, if you're choosing plants, just talking about the aspect, like if you're choosing plants for a very, very sunny garden, if you have more than 6 hours sun in your garden, then that's what's considered full sun. So when you read the label on a plant, it will tell you full sun, partial shade, or shade. 3 to 6 hours is partial shade, and less than 3 hours sun is like shady. So that's a really, really good place to start. And then just, you know, think, if I don't know if you have grass and borders, or if you have patio. If you have a patio, then be thinking about creating a lovely container garden. You know, choose a good multi-purpose compost, make sure you've got good drainage as well, keep them well watered in the warm weather, and just make it your own. Just, you know, you're only limited by your imagination, and certainly not by space. So I say just go for it.
Excellent. And then we've got a question from Alex, and I can add to this if needed. Are there any problems with pets and any poisonous plants in the garden and scented plants you have mentioned?
So I would if you have pets, I would always be mindful of what plants you put into your garden. Some plants will have a level of toxicity which might not be safe for pets. Now, often that will be described on the plant labeling, so that would be a first step for me, would be just to check. And there are some plants which you know, are perhaps quite well known for having levels of toxicity, such as lily of the valley, which is very, very beautiful, but it's quite toxic, the flowers, so I wouldn't advise popping that into your garden. With the plants that I mentioned, now with the herbs I think generally are fine, but with the ones that I've mentioned, they should be absolutely fine for your pets. You know, I was talking about sort of thyme and mint and lavender and plants like this. Now, just having a little look through. Yeah, I mean, with others, stachys I think is okay, and silver sage, but I would, if you're concerned, I would just check, just Google the plant and just have a little look and just see if there's any level of toxicity, and if there's any sort of worries, just leave it out.
And I know the Dogs Trust produce a list of poisonous plants, and you know, many of them would be things people always have them in their garden: cyclamens, daffodils. I guess it all depends what your pet is and whether it eats everything it sees and just considers it food. People have castor plants in their garden and they can be absolutely fatal to dogs. But ivy in your garden, it can be poisonous. I mean, there is foxgloves. It all depends on your pet and whether they're going to eat it. But a lot of plants, brushing against them is fine. It's whether you have a Hoover for a pet or not. My thing, I've got a lab, they eat everything. Just, it's in the garden, I'll eat it. It must be edible. And then they make themselves really unwell. But yeah, if you have a dog and you're particularly thinking of a dog, you know, the Dogs Trust produce a website, and I'm pretty sure feline societies will do similar ones for cats and things. Yeah, there's a lot out there. Nature can be very harmful. She really can. But yeah, there's a long list. Geraniums, yeah, they can be pretty harmful to some pets as well. Yeah, lilies, there's cats. Anyway, to name but a few. There we go. Okay, again, more Latin. I wish people wouldn't do Latin. I'm not very good at Latin. Verbascum olympicum or Bomyciferum have huge furry leaves. Late, you really want to stroke. Sorry, typo that you want to stroke. So yeah, I know what you mean. So anything to say about those, or I think that might just be a comment.
Yeah, so verbascums it's a really, really lovely suggestion for a very beautiful flower to put in your garden. I think verbascums have these kind of sort of spires of flowers. They add real sort of structural interest to your garden. And of course, yeah, having the lovely feeling on the leaves, you know, within a sensory garden, that's really, really important. And yeah, they're very, very beautiful. Be a good addition, good recommendation.
Excellent. And that brings us to the end of the questions in the chat. Is there anything people would like to ask in person if they don't want to type them down? No? All right then. You might, if you want to put your social media and things in the chat quickly before we say goodbye, Sarah. So if people want to keep in touch with you, follow you and find out what you're up to. I know you're on various things. So, feel free to throw those in the chat.
Thank you.
Oh goodness, this is a big one. I'm going to ask you this question that's popped in, but I've only caught snippets of it. Why is the government allowing a poisonous weed killer that's banned in the EU? Can we stop this?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Why is the government allowing a poisonous weed killer that's banned in the EU? Can we stop this?
Well, you know what, I feel very strongly about very toxic chemicals being used in the garden. You know, I mean, everybody has their way of dealing with weeds and pests and everything in their garden, and it's all about choice. But I would always recommend choosing the most environmentally friendly option that you can. There's a lot of kind of weed killers and pesticides and things which will say on the bottle, you know, it has sort of eco credentials, it doesn't harm animals, doesn't harm other wildlife, you know. And that's something that, if we were talking about, you know, putting plants into your garden that might be harmful to pets and other animals, then certainly, you know, these sort of really strong chemical weed killers are not going to be great for any animals in the garden either. And also it's going into your soil, and if you, like me, like growing edibles, then I'd always recommend trying to go as organic as you can. I wish we could do more as well. I do.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a government petition about it somewhere, or a petition to the government about it. Yes, probably part of the fallout of leaving the EU, I imagine. Yeah, someone's saying, I heard this today, outrageous. And then Lei Peng's asked you, Sarah, what other follow-up online events do you offer on this or similar topics?
So I will be, I'm just putting into the chat, actually, I'm going to put the link onto my website, and also my alias on Instagram. So please do follow me on Instagram, check out my website. There will be more talks coming up. I am going to be working with Ken and his lovely team again with some more talks coming up soon. Dates are to be confirmed. So if you do follow me at Discovering Gardens on Instagram, then you will get all of the updates and you'll be able to find out about all of the upcoming talks. So later in the year as well, if once we are much more able to be physically with each other, I will be starting to run a series of in-person immersive workshops on garden design and growing food, which is going to be a new exciting development for me with my garden design business, and I hope that it will be interesting for you guys too. So yeah, there's a lot more content coming as the year progresses, so if you follow me, you'll hear all about it.